also want to talk about Hong Kong protests because they have been extremely inspiring to me. And I did find some similarities among them. But to understand that, we need to dive into the history of China and Hong Kong. Basically what happened is that China and Great Britain were fighting against each other in the Opium Wars, and to cut the story short, China lost Hong Kong and the district to the UK. That made Hong Kong to be the colony of the UK, so the system was always a bit different there. According to the treaty, the Great Britain was renting Hong Kong for 99 years. Then, in the modern times already, Hong Kong was returned to China on the rule of one country, two systems, while the mainland China is living under the rule of Communist Party of China and communism. Hong Kong is a trade center, it's very capitalism, freedom of speech and whatnot. However, the civilians of Hong Kong feel like they continue losing their freedom and their rights the closer Hong Kong is to China. Hong Kong has a system of indirect vote, so I guess people don't really have the opportunity to vote directly for the candidates. It's like an especially appointed committee votes for them, and the majority of the candidates who get to the point of power, who get the access, are pro-Beijing candidates, which is disappointing to Hong Kongers. More and more the situation was becoming more tense. There was a situation where a bookstore owners from Hong Kong went missing. The bookstore was selling oppositional literature, some literature about Chinese politicians, Chinese leaders, even some books about their personal life. A bit risky, those books are prohibited in the mainland China, but since Hong Kong is a different situation, they were allowed there and the bookstore existed. But then at some point the bookstore owners just vanished. Nobody knew where they went, yet one of them appeared on the mainland Chinese television and was apologizing for his crimes and whatnot. And a lot of the tension that has been going on has triggered the umbrella movement, when people just go out on the street and protest with umbrellas. It is very inspiring. However, the most recent protests were triggered by the so-called extradition bill. China is about to adopt the extradition law, according to which criminals from Hong Kong will be extradited to mainland China. And even if that sounds innocent, that bill is a threat to democracy in Hong Kong and to the freedom of every person in Hong Kong, because again, the systems are different in those regions. I'm sure in China you're not really allowed to criticize the authorities, the ruling party, and neither you are allowed it here. There is a law here in Russia prohibiting you from criticizing the authorities. So people were just walking and protesting. In Hong Kong, protesters are usually dressed in black attire, while white is the uniform of the pro-governmental forces. On some metro stations, there were even stands with white t-shirts for protesters so they could go home safely, and that is also so inspiring. Like I said, there are some similarities between two protests. In Russia, a lot of police forces and special forces that have been summoned to the capital, again, are not from the capital. They were summoned from the regions. I think they cannot relate to Moscowers having freedom of vote. They don't care because it's like not their city or not. In Hong Kong, police forces were spotted talking Mandarin to each other while the Hong Kongers speak Cantonese. Along with the police, the forces that are attacking protesters are Chinese triads, which are wearing white t-shirts. They also have some wooden sticks that they use to attack civilians. There are several videos of that happening, and triads are apparently something like Chinese mafia. What also happened is, again, I would consider both of these peaceful protests. People are just walking outside to express their opinions and freedoms. Yet the police have been violent. They are spraying, they're spraying tear gas at people. There are absolutely horrible videos of children screaming. It just breaks my heart because that is so unwarranted. No one deserves this. No one deserves this treatment. The tear gas attacks are so massive. They have reached the vet hospital where animals are treated. This picture, the cat on the picture is just for the reference. It's a meme cat. It's not the cat from the hospital that was under tear gas attack, but still, apparently some retirement homes also unfortunately were affected by the massive tear gas attacks. It's just heartbreaking. I have heard that protesters are using umbrellas to be protected from the tear gas attacks, as in famous Roman testudo tortoise turtle scheme system military thing. Another part of the protests in Hong Kong that really inspired me, really touched my soul, is that apparently there are some things called the Lenin walls. On those walls, people stick some post-it notes, little stickers with some uplifting messages and political statements expressing their wish for freedom, quoting the Beatles, John Lennon. Protesters use post-it notes, specifically that those notes would not leave any mark on the wall. Protesters are peaceful, they don't want to deface any property, and it just looks so beautiful and uplifting. But of course, the anti-protest people want to tear the walls apart, tear the walls down. People have to protect the walls. It really inspires me that people are so eager to fight for their rights. They inspire me. But what breaks my heart is that I heard that a lot of people who are so frustrated and desperate because of the extradition bill, because of the tension that has been going on. Those people have unfortunately decided to take their own lives because they just could not take it anymore, and that touches me to my core. And I mean, that's why people go on the streets. Essentially, they feel like they have nothing to lose. And let me tell you something. In the abusive relationships, abusers are extremely scared of someone knowing who they are. They're afraid of being exposed. They're afraid of the talks. Their main goal is to keep their abuse as secret as it can be. And the same thing with the oppressive regimes. And they really don't like being talked about. They don't like having their crimes and their violations of human rights be talked about and spoken about. They don't like it on the news. They don't like people to hear about it. You get the idea. Even in the USSR, during the most oppressive times, where like 1 million of people throughout the decades suffered from the repressions, who were held in concentration labor camps. Even in those times, the authorities were extremely scared of foreigners and neighboring countries hearing about the slavery and the violation of human rights and all. So that's why we should talk about it. It is scary. There can be repercussions, consequences, very negative ones, but we should talk about it. If we're scared, if we're too scared to do anything, that means they have won. We don't want them to win, and you cannot defeat us because we're just the people. If authorities are doing a war against their own people, then it is a huge problem. And you can use power to intimidate and hurt people, and you can do it all. You can put millions of people behind the bars, which again was the cause in the USSR, especially the Stalin times, pre-World War II, perhaps sometimes after as well. And it continued through decades, but I mean, doesn't matter. You can do all sorts of horrible things to us, but people are going to fight, and that is what uplifts me, that is what empowers me. It is a bit easier to prevent Gilead than trying to defeat Gilead from within when it's already existing. So there is that. Thank you very much for watching. I'm very sorry that video was extremely rambly. I will try to put a lot of extra content of videos and things into the video so it can be a bit more interesting. I'm sorry if I appeared not educated enough. This is my first time covering such a political topic. I tried to do a lot of research on the Hong Kong protests and history. I don't think I've said everything that I have learned during my research, but this video is already very long. So again, thank you very much for watching. Hopefully we'll see you in next videos. Bye bye.